our family to yours. Merry Christmas and a blessed season from New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Okay, so you're looking for money? Well, you're in a good place. Right? We're going to help you. We're not actually going to give you money, but we're going to show you how we could make the money. And if you have some money, we'll try and get it. You can hold on to it too, all right? People, welcome to Every Cent Counts right here on New Era TT Radio. And of course, we are joined by none other than Garth Thomas in between this session on a Monday. And whenever God joins us on a Monday, you know, it is a great Monday. And you see why I stress on that. It's a great Monday. So, Mr. Thomas, a great day to you.
And a great day to you, Sir Charles. And it is indeed a great day. And, you know, I never miss the opportunity to remind our listeners that they should promote the concept throughout the day, throughout their conversations with all of their colleagues and the people that they meet. Because nothing wrong with good, but why settling for good when great is available?
So true.
And great is always available. So, Sir Charles, we're going to have a great day today. I would like to welcome my guest this morning. I have a very special guest this morning. She is a lady who is a woman.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I think that is the proper sequence. You know, I don't think it should be she's a woman who is a lady. This is a lady who is a woman. All right. And she's a very special person to me. And she is an author, a librarian, an educator, a humanist, and an advocate of cultural heritage education, as well as women's empowerment. That is none other than my special guest this morning, Dr. Yvonne Bob Smith. A great morning to you, Yvonne.
Good morning. Good morning.
You
I
need
thought
to-
you invited me to a party. I need to dance.
Yvonne, you just need to upgrade your greeting a little bit. Good is not good enough. Make it a great morning.
Yes.
She says yes. All right. So Yvonne, it's very nice to have you
Thank
on
you.
on Every Cent Counts this morning. So let me take the opportunity to reinforce the concept of every cent counts. Obviously, it has a financial application. Obviously, it promotes the power of accumulation. But it also, at the same time, recognizes that every element is a critical element. And especially when we come, Yvonne and Ellie Collis, Charles, when we come to the question of building a nation, then the application of the concept of every cent counts is that every Trinidadian in the place has a unique and special and valuable contribution to make in building our nation, in moving our nation forward. And that is what we want to really be talking about this morning. Even in recent programs, I have attempted and will continue to attempt to provoke a conversation about 2050. Where will we as a nation be in 2050? I have promoted this in the context of a wealth creation template. And the template is a fairly simple template because that's all it is, a template. You know, it is not a plan. It is a template. It is the bare bones around which we can build plans and strategies and agendas. And that wealth creation template comprises 3 lines: the finish line, the start line, and the timeline. So the finish line I have been emphasizing is where the planning process begins. We have to first say, you know, I think it was Stephen Covey who said that we should begin with the end in mind. I'm sure you must be familiar with that in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind. So the planning process begins by our determining a goal. And perhaps that goal may be a product of a vision, you know, whatever words you want to use alongside there. But it is a question of identifying where we want to be at some specific time in the future. So that's where the planning process begins. The starting line is about identifying resources. Yes? What are the resources that are available to us today to begin the work? Yes? What are the resources? And we have identified those resources, or we have divided them into 2 primary categories. The first category are the tangibles, and the second category are the intangibles. So I like to talk about both tangibles and resources, tangibles and intangibles, as elements of the resources that are available to us. So having decided where we want to reach at a given point in time in the future, we now look at the starting line, where we are today, the resources that are available to us to work with. Because even, you know, you can only work with what you have. But you need to be aware of all that you have. And very often I have found people have, because they are intangible, people tend to ignore the intangible resources that are available to us. So the context of the conversation is, with this template in mind, where do we want to be as a nation in 2050? Now, you, Yvonne, occupies a very unique location in space, time, and history. Because listeners here and across the diaspora, Dr. Yvonne Bob Smith is what you call it, Yvonne, a nonagenarian. Yes, that's the correct word? Nonagenarian.
Yeah.
You hearing me clearly, Yvonne?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, good. Yeah. All right. She's a nonagenarian. That means to say she is 94 years of age. And her mind is as sharp as a tack. Maybe sharper. All right. So Yvonne occupies a location where she has seen all 63 years of our independence unfold before her. And she was, and you know, her perspective on it obviously was shaped by the years prior to that, when she was a part of our colonial experience. So she was here to see the transition and all that led up to our moving from a colony to being an independent nation. So Yvonne is ideally located to give the rest of us. I don't know how many people like Yvonne exists in Trinidad and Tobago right now. I think she has to be one of a very few, because not only has she been here for sufficient time, but her mind is still as sharp as you could want it to be. So that we are going this morning to be privileged to listen to someone who has not only seen history unfold, but has been a participant in making this history unfold. Even that was a long introduction, but
Well, I
but
hope,
welcome to Every Cent Counts.
thank you very much, Garth, and I hope I live up to those expectations that you
Oh, I have no worries
have
when it's
offered. I'm just thinking and agreeing with you that there are two major categories, if you want to call it categories, of needs that a society has to determine where they are going at what time, how they are going to reach at that time.
Yes.
And I looked at them as the tangible, as you said, and the intangible, namely the physical and the humanistic. So one could compare the physical globally. You know what's in New York, you know what's in London, and then you look at these poor countries struggling. Do they look like New York? Do they look like Toronto? Or so on and so on. I would say that what happened was like a rush to be looking like somebody else. I now developed, and I'm holding on to the idea of identifying with the oppressors. What we did in what the US does, we gotta do, or better, you know? And I preface my remarks on this by looking at our language. Our language, when I knew myself 60 years ago, was very creative. That nothing was discussed without tying up arguments with particular words. I was looking yesterday at come see, come la, and saying, where did these words go? All right. So let me go back now to say, yes, development has taken place rapidly, and perhaps 75% filled with interests, material, and whatever, but it's like a copy. And I like to illustrate my ideas. And when just recently we constructed a pan house, if you want to call it that, for ease of communication, downtown, in the seat of the pan movement, of the pan yard, and I saw it, tears popped to my eyes, because it looked like a school that was built in, say, 1950. There was nothing creative to say, woo, I'm going into the pan yard, the biggest pan yard in the city or in the country, and I can see, I can feel. Okay? No big deal. I felt that when I was a child or a youngster, going down Charlotte Street, it was a joke because you run down, you go down a little hill and then you jump up and you run out. Well, I'm doing the same thing today with my rollator. You see? So when you talk about when we talk about development, what did we do that determine our progress to show that we will do better, right? My mom used to say comparisons are odious, but I still love to make comparisons. I haven't been to Africa, but I see pictures often, and when I look at the architecture in in Africa, depicting Africanism, we are very far from something like that, very far. Okay, so that yes, there's progress. Yes, there are highways. Yes, there are not highways where there should be highways. I had a cousin who was he worked in the field of construction and so. He used to cry that Maraval had 400 people in a particular year, 18 something, and the road that it is today is the same width. And we have hundreds of cars, right? Surveyor, he was a surveyor. And whenever he came to visit me, that was a nagging problem for him. Because he tended to marry humanism, with the physical. So then I go on to the second.
Yeah, you go on. I didn't want to interrupt you, but we're not really seeing you. We're not capturing your.
I tried my best and I don't know how to set it up.
You don't want to get the camera. If you move to your left, if you move to your, I think it's your left. It should be your left. If you're facing me, if you're facing the laptop, right? Well, that's your left, right? So there are some pictures right behind your hand there. If you look on your wall, there's a kind of a collage. You seeing it? If you move toward the collage, which is to my right, but your left. Yes. Yes. If you move in that direction, and you sit. I think you're standing up. I don't know if I want you to stand up for the whole hour.
No, I'm sitting.
You're sitting. All right. Okay. It looked like if you were standing.
I press.
Okay, but you need to your face. I think your face is toward the picture on your wall. Is it? Is that a picture on your wall there with a number?
On my left. They're by my window. Yeah. I don't know how to get there.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Don't let it bother us. All right. We are hearing you clearly, but it's just that I would have loved to have seen your facial expression.
Want to see my pretty face. So when you come around next time, could you please show me this? Okay.
All right. Okay.
So I go to what is the softest spot in my brain and my body, and that is the human, which this allows me from painting a very strong picture of what 2050 will be, unless that humanistic side of us develops. Okay? Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
So the first I would say is we need to come together and have a collective awareness of our environment and our cultural values.
Okay.
So that is like the horse. The horse is going through because you have the collective awareness of your environment and your cultural values. In common terms, everybody will be flying up a highway, dirt, garbage. You know, if you go to New York, do you see that? If you go to Toronto, do you see? So that's what I'm just breaking down. The awareness of it. That somebody, all of us, will get out of our luxurious cars and say, why? It has to be done tomorrow. So in 50 years from now, I will only be
25 years. 25 years, Yvonne.
25.
25 years.
years
20,
from
50,
now,
but 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah, what it is. Okay. The next thing about where I find the loss, there's a loss in is the lack of social responsibility. Nobody wants to take on full responsibility for something that hasn't been done well, and to think about it critically towards solution, problem
Yes.
to solution. Is I do it, I defend it. I do it, you ain't do it, I defend it. You know? And I'm speaking just from sitting in my, looking at my news, reading the papers, hearing people talk. Everybody, each side defending. So where the hell you're going with that? You need to move from, you start a conversation and you're moving towards a solution. Yes, I see it. It should have three, it should have been three, but you had two. So where are we going to get the one?
Yes.
The other person says, oh my God, I should have put in a one. Okay?
Yes.
And why this happens is because generally critical thinking does not exist. The first thing I have to say, like if you told me about my problem with this viewing,
Yes.
you know, it's because you will not do it. The other there, end of story. Okay. So that takes me quite aware, quite close to the lack of acute awareness of the needs of among different groups, which contain, of course, divergent groups, I should say, which contain difference, along with strains of fusion.
Along the what? Along what? Along what, Yvonne?
Strains of fusion.
Strains of fusion. I like it too.
So we are different, but we fuse.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
I was listening to Rihanna the other night, and it hit me with a stone, as it were, that the singing was African bent. It was Jamaican bent. Right?
Right.
I could have got the feeling drawn from how she those notes. I'm not a musicologist. I'm far from that. I'm just a feeling person.
Right.
I could hear. Okay, so it's not a straight thing. You know, it's not like a Chopin.
Yeah.
You know, it is fused. So we are living as far as I see, is a picture of the beauty of diversity. You know, and when I go back to the language,
say that again, Yvonne. We are living in a picture of
the beauty of diversity.
Beauty of diversity.
Yes.
Fused.
So, in that I meant, if we are talking English and we just feel to burst into something coming out of our bodies, our souls, that is Trinidadian. But you go every political person now on the stage is straight language. So therefore, we forget, or the younger people do not know, how to make these inputs to soften up the situation. I remember some of them and wonder why we use them. If somebody came down in a tight jersey, they say, what are you in? A Buster Crab? Where did that come from? But everybody knew if they told you you're in a Buster Crab, you're in a tight fitting something. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. The whole thing about communication is connection. And the uniqueness of it is what we would develop through creating it. You created it and it becomes a part of you. I always remember the first time, my first year in University of Toronto, a Jamaican professor came as a visitor, and he had several degrees after his name. And we were all excited, wondering who he was and so. And that is the West Indian group. And he got on this, as he got to the podium, he said, "From Assam." And the whole West Indian crowd laughed out. And all the white people looking at us. But that just, why did that happen? Those are the things I look at in life. What makes us feel good? Dr. So say, from Assam. Okay, so we ignore the fact that we have that uniqueness and we go into other people's and borrows.
Yep.
So in that case, we knew, it's like some months ago, somebody wrote me and asked me to tell them about partake. Partake.
Yes.
All right. And I remembered it. And remember, partake is the vendor and the employer. How beautiful. Right? So that's one of the things, maybe the last thing that I could stress, that blurs my vision. I love community living. And because it's there that I could hold on tightly to my views of anthropology. But I still see in younger people this tendency not to hold on to responsibility in a social way. Or, as I said, to identify with the oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
Something is wrong, it is wrong. You are uncomfortable about it, you can't explain why the person giving you discomfort, what's wrong with them, or not what's wrong, but backing up, giving some backup to why. The electricity didn't come because something, this happened down the road, and when you have lights, not creating an atmosphere for joint solution. So the oppressor has power. Okay?
Uh-huh.
You'll get that two months from now, because you understand having a hard time, And I could think of that very factually, the opposite to that, when I was corporate secretary of ISCOT, and the plant was like a baby to us. And when something happened, the urgency with which we wanted to get that plant back in action, that everybody will take on their responsibility, or if they were a part, not even if they were a part, some of the engineers might not be involved in the engineers of another part of the plant, but it didn't make a difference. No one blamed each other. people came to see if what inputs they could make.
For a solution.
And that was, and that I'm sure that my Scott partners who might hear me would know that was true. That many of the engineers would be walking up down the plant, worried about what is happening to get it done. And that is an ideal situation of cooperation, collaboration, connection to put yourself forward. But if you are in 2025 leaving garbage anywhere, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, what will be 2050 like? Huh?
Yes.
Well, why is it, for example, this government is saying cut back or stop putting theaters, places of partying, like the Brian Lara. Why is it people can't say, hello, why don't they give us land? I'm ready to buy some land down Shagaramas. Because I go down there on an odd occasion and I just see land and bush and land and bush and land and bush. But nobody says that. It's either they're saying they're wrong to do it, they shouldn't do it. Okay? So if your thinking is not geared towards a future of change, real change, or development of the change you have made, it's hard to decide or to...
But even to what extent would you say that our colonial history, that this is a part of our colonial heritage? Do you ascribe that kind of a perspective to the colonial experience, or do you think that is just an excuse?
No, I don't. First of all, my theorizing on humanity, I don't blame anybody for what I do. I did it.
Yes.
All right?
Okay.
Because that is where empowerment comes in. I have the power to leave what is wrong or tired or ineffective. I have the power to do that. Okay?
Right.
So you passing your broom over my foot. Well, it's to be nice. Don't say anything. No. You make sure you get your foot out and you tell the person don't put it back again. So if you really took colonial heritage, and I don't ignore the fact that there are pieces because they are a part of the diversity.
Right. Okay.
And they're part of the diversity in terms of their being born here, white people. Okay? But there is something that nurtured a strangeness in us to be don't care damn and you neat and as a friend of mine would say, Trinidad is it good so. You go to the mechanic and you think they're knocking, it goes so. Right? And that is similarly what is happening today. And he would have said that, say, in the 80s about Notre Dame. It goes so. So, again, the explicit way I would find is that I would talk about Digger Martin Highway, that people of authority and people of authority would not allow the highway to be like that if collectively we had an awareness of its dangers, of its ineffectiveness. Because they're passing along there every day. It's not me alone or you. Everybody is passing. And everybody can ride over the garbage. The beauty of the Pyramid Hills, and you just come upon hunks of garbage. That is just a simple thing. That's just a simple thing. I don't want to go into, I can't go into the heavier thing. So it's a simple thing you can't deal with in that particular way. What happening to the larger ones? What happening to the deeper ones? And remember, we are comfortable in our country by what we see. All of us can't go to a parliament or go to a meeting, right? So the result of the meetings and the whatever should be seen. But there's no room for critical thinking. I now want to pay respect, and I'm happy to do this publicly, to Stevenson Sargent. Stevenson Sargent was a sociologist in the 70s, 60s. He left university just before me. And I remember the first carnival I played mass, which was 67. And we had a chat about what Ash Wednesday was like, because I was working downtown. And he just shook his head. And he went into among the workers and told them he did a what you would call it, a program, like a school, on the reason for environment cleanliness, the reason for sanitation. And that is why the policy was put into the municipal framework. And today we have assurance. Isn't that sounding like a simple thing or a hard thing? But it has now, people are very happy. Come across the stage, you had to have it clean after. And he spent his time massaging, the people.
He was a past mayor, right? He was a past mayor of Port of Spain.
Huh?
He was a past mayor of Port of
Yes,
Spain.
he was a mayor. Well, he was a mayor when he did it.
Yes.
When we were talking about it, he wasn't yet. But he was very social conscious. Like, he didn't like BISAM. He didn't like the structure. He didn't feel that things were in it that would make for a good Trinidadian or anybody who, like, okay, no gallery. People like gallery. Okay? Things like that he was very conscious of. And I always think of him and how he would have felt if he came out of his home in St. James to go to Woodbrook and see the amount of muck I see on the street any hour of the day. So you don't even know when it will be picked up. So I am very simple. I have no, what you call it, high-powered, because it frightens me. But this is how I see life, how I see life now, and wonder where it will go. But remember, in the 70s, there was a consciousness about collectivity. There's a beginning of that, of collectivity with the Black Power movement, and the importance of making the oppression integrated. It was integrated, all right? I don't know where that went to, but definitely in the 70s, we had that. In the 70s, we had standardization. 70s, 80s. I was also a part of that, of the initiative.
And I
recall people, yes, and I recall people, I used to do once a month or twice a month, a radio program on the Tony Dial, and it was instructive. And I remember people stopping me on my car and saying, I stopped that man in Charlotte Street, he didn't have a label. I stopped so and so, he don't. So that is what you want when you have that is why in a big society, people just don't walk over something and that isn't good. What? And immediately people complain, the municipal of the city will change it. There's not that. So every day, oh God, the rain start to fall, all the garbage come down on the left-hand side, and the driver's car go up. The other, give me a break, you know. So it's very painful, and I'm just recognizing that I have lived this long. As an, I've lived this long as an adult. Don't forget, it's like an adult.
As an adult, yes.
so so I know beginnings of things, and I know perhaps the kind of respect, the human respect we give to each other, and don't think that I'm um, glorifying. There was wrong. There was wrong. People in Belmont or wherever, there were people who weren't doing things right, but we looked out for each other. Okay, and my mom was one of those bold people. She would confront somebody who was doing wrong and say, "What is wrong with you?" You know? She would tell, "No, boy, what you want some work, you want
Yeah.
some clothes, okay? But it's a different world we live in." Yet, that doesn't say that other cities, other countries do not control their values. As we know about the Finland, the values are important. You know, you could enter a bus without seemingly as though it's without pain. When you get out, you go and you push something, you pee. How could you do that if people don't have common social values? If people do not think of the person as I am a part of you, you are a part of me. Okay?
Ubuntu. I am because we are.
That's correct. That's correct. Okay. And I could give several public um, pub- public instances where I see that close, where I see that up front and
So you're saying as we move forward as a nation, even to 2050, are you saying that you would like to see a reestablishment of those kind of values and value systems that were present in the past and that may be still present but at a very minimal level?
yeah, I think that people should be made aware that those values are not putting us in good stead. You know, I think that people should. I think first of all, the schools should teach critical thinking, cultural heritage, and critical thinking are important to the development of the mind.
Mm. Cultural values and
Cultural,
critical thinking.
cultural heritage.
All right. Yeah.
The
Okay.
question of
Values.
why. First of all, don't forget, we want to know anything that you're going into with the purpose of learning. Why am I doing it? And cultural heritage is why am I doing what I'm doing? Okay.
Okay.
I just attended First Nations uh, event which unveiled a statue. How many daily papers? How many people? How many of the daily papers is there?
The media.
TTT. This is cultural heritage par excellence, so to speak, in that you're seeing a group of people that you didn't know before, or you humiliated them as a part of Trinidad and Tobago. But one media house center, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could go on and on about this. Half knowing half knowing or not knowing. That is
Okay.
what makes us where for
How,
further.
how, how do we turn it around? How do we turn it around, Yvonne? What are your thoughts on
Two things
turning it
I
around?
said. You see, I believe in education, and I don't mean it that you go and you get a degree. Just take it that I believe in education. You know, if I could have played football, I could play football if I was educated. You know, I mean just throwing a ball if I was educated to play football. If I was educated to drive a plane.
So
That's what
you're okay. So you're speaking about education in a broader
exactly
sense.
exactly. But it can be, you see, it when it gets into your brain as education, it lifts something. Something is lifted.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
It is ascribed a higher value.
Except no, the act itself becomes a part of you. I'll give you another joke. I did household economics as my science subject in Bachelor of Arts. So I had my little manual there on my table in Trinidad when I came back home. And a friend of mine who was an engineer opened it and he saw the first page. How to sweep was the heading.
Eh,
Point one, get a broom. No, and he laughed. But think about that. Just think about that. How to sweep, get a broom. Okay? So just put the reverse. You go and tell somebody sweep and they're looking all over the place and then do a damn thing for the day because they don't know what to do. You see the point I'm making? So
yes.
that is education. Whether you knew to get a broom or not, you are confirmed that society expects you to get a broom, right? So you come in to attend a patient. What do you look for? A stethoscope if he's a doctor,
Yes.
right? Don't you? Okay. Same education now at a formal level, but what I mean, it broadens
All right.
your
Okay. So
perspective.
what would you say, Yvonne? Now we are fast running out of time because it's 10 to 12. We might have to do a part two to this interview, Yvonne.
Quarter,
Eh?
quarter to, oh, quarter
I
12,
my computer is saying 11 minutes to
49,
12.
49 to 12.
Yeah, 11:49.
Yes. But
Yeah,
it is
and we normally try to make a little space for people to call in. But I perhaps when we come back to Sir Charles and Yvonne, perhaps we need to talk about the purpose of education because I get the feeling that you are recognizing that if we are going to move forward as a nation and to be a nation of significance in terms of realizing our own potential without necessarily comparing ourselves with others, that if we are going to really maximize our potential, that we need to pay attention to education and the purpose, the overarching purpose of education. So I'm sure we don't have time to talk
okay.
about it now, but Sir Charles, I don't know, you want to open you're opening the lines for people to call?
Yes, we do have a few minutes so we can invite people to be part of the discussion. So people, 2811315, that's 2811315, you can be part of the discussion now.
All right, so let me throw in a little ad whilst we're waiting for people to come. That Yvonne is an author. I identified her as an author, and she's an author of at least 2 books. Yvonne, the first book is I Know Who I Am.
I know who I am. I
Right.
know who I am.
I Know Who I Am, and that was in 2004.
Yes.
All right. And she has more recently completed a book which isn't quite out on the market as yet. Whose Child Are You? So I throw those 2 things there. We're going to talk more about it when we come back next week. Yvonne. All right. But I don't know, Sir Charles, do you have any callers there?
So
Waiting?
far we don't, but if they come in the next few minutes, I would let you know.
All right, cool. So perhaps we can treat with that question a bit and come back to it, Yvonne, because I have a real concern. I don't know about anybody else, but we say sweet Trinidad and it's sweet. I think we have a significant quality of life here in Trinidad, but obviously there are lots of stuff that we can do much better at. And I have a concern that come 2050, that this sweet Trinidad and Tobago should be sweeter, But I have a feeling that there's so much potential for it to be plenty less sweet. So let's speak to that, Yvonne. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I agree. I understand it's important to flesh out because this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say critical thinking. It doesn't end there. It concludes itself.
Yes.
So you're just walking through, unraveling to get touch, and you're sticking. Because I'm really open to criticism. I'm open to not criticism in the way that it's senseless, but let us say a critique of what is happening. Or someone could say, but look at I noticed that.
Yes.
As I said to somebody this morning, I'm not perfect, I don't know what. But when students said critical thinking led me to something, I feel happy.
Yes.
Something else. I felt I was so privileged until this course caused me to think critically. Those are the words of people.
Yes.
That's why I stick with this mantra.
So, I guess in Toastmasters, Yvonne, we might call it evaluation.
Yes. No, you see, it's not a competitive thing. Critical thinking is not competitive.
Right.
Yes, but I want to say about it and what it leads to is that personal is political. And this was something born years ago in the feminist movement by Bell Hooks. And she wrote books about it. The personal is political.
I like that concept. The personal is political. Wow.
Yes.
Wish we had time to expand on that, Yvonne.
Well, if you're talking about education in that way, I would do it. If you remember, I sometimes say, for example, I'm a fisherman out in the sea all night. And when I look, I didn't get much. And I have my children to feed and so. And I come on the phone, I come on the TV or radio hearing about monetize. What the hell is that? You see what I'm saying? That's it. A way of thinking critically to expose people to the reality of life. Don't give them things that make, because that is another form of oppression. They don't understand, so they get poorer and poorer and poorer because they don't understand what you're doing.
All right.
That is a start. So I don't mind talking because I am now older and I'm really understanding the effect of oppression, not only with a strap or a box or a gun, but there's oppression that is there permanently if you don't move it away. That is why we have to say we have the power to move away that oppression. We have the power.
We have a caller there. Let's see if we can take it. Mr. Hotep, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Great morning, Mr.
Correct? Is this Miss Yvonne Bob Smith?
Yes, it is.
Oh, great program, great program. I consider this program for the numerous gems coming through it. You know what I mean? Numerous, and I'm very grateful that she's still here with us, and I hope she's with us a lot longer, because I think she has a lot to share, and people could benefit from it. And I was particularly impressed with her the old mayor of Palestine, Stevenson Sargent, you mentioned him.
Yes.
One of the rare politicians I thought was an absolute gentleman and demonstrated some real self-awareness. You know what I mean? I really, really admire him, and I admire him for the amount of gems she shared on your program today, that people could go and strip away and they will get enough to work with if they want to start their journey. Education has to be about self-empowerment, not just academic training. Go on.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I feel good.
Yes, well, I don't think I could have described it any better than Mr. Hotep Yvonne. Lots of gems, and I know that where those gems came from, you know, there's a mine, there's a whole mine that we need to dig up in and see what else we could unearth. So I am going to book you for a continuation of this interview. I'm not too sure if it's going to be on next Monday or not, but we can talk about that. Yes? But I want us to explore this whole concept.
Okay, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yes. Yeah, I want us to talk about this whole concept of cultural heritage and critical thinking as two pillars critical to our moving this nation forward. So come 2050, we can proudly say we are as good as we could get. Okay? So thanks a lot, Yvonne. Much appreciated. Sir Charles?
Yes.
You're welcome. Very welcome.
Thank you very much for the guests being on board this morning. Thank you very much, Mom, for being here with us. And God, thank you so much. Tell people how to get in contact with you. We have 30 seconds.
Yes, 680-3185. That's a WhatsApp contact. 680-3185. Send me a WhatsApp message. Give me your name, give me your email address, and we will converse. Thanks so much for everyone listening here in Trinidad and in the diaspora. We have some more gems for you coming up.
Okay.
Okay?
Hi, people. This has been Every Cent Counts right here on our TT Radio. Stay with us. We have our news that is straight ahead.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
You're listening to News Now on New Era TT Radio and Guile Caribbean, keeping you informed and connected. I'm Derek. Good day. A special report from the Office of the Ombudsman has revealed that the government owes the National Maintenance Training and Security Company, MTS, over $850 million, leaving the company unable to pay retirees their lawful benefits. The report, dated November 19th, says dozens of former employees have waited months, and in some cases more than 2 years, for payments guaranteed under the collective agreement, which requires benefits to be paid within 30 days of retirement. The Ombudsman reported that between 2022 and 2025, 68 complaints were filed. 39 have been resolved after repeated intervention, but 29 retirees are still awaiting full payment. Many have faced financial and medical hardship, with some unable to afford rent, medication, or basic expenses. The report describes the delays as systemic administrative failure and urges parliamentary action, noting that despite recommendations, MTS has not taken sufficient corrective steps. With the company saying it's owed hundreds of millions by state agencies, the Ombudsman warns that retirement benefits are not being treated as a priority. leaving vulnerable retirees in distress. Opposition Senator Dr. Amory Brown has filed a police report after receiving a series of explicit death threats against himself and his family on social media. Brown shared screenshots of the comments, calling the incident the most serious he has faced in nearly 20 years of political life. One commenter threatened to walk up and shoot him in public and claimed he would wait outside Parliament. Other messages targeted Brown's children and included a racial slur. The profile behind the threats shows a man's photo, about 40 friends, and no recent posts. A second account believed to be linked to the same individual also appears inactive. This development comes just days after the government confirmed that 5 people were placed under preventative detention orders for inciting violence, including a Diego Martin woman accused of encouraging attacks on Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Authorities say the measures are aimed at preventing individuals who pose an immediate threat to public safety. President of the T&T Automotive Dealers Association, Visham Babwa, says 8-year-old foreign used cars are unsuitable for the local market and could pose long-term risks for consumers. Babwa told Guardian Media that government should revert to the original budget proposal, which allowed the importation of 6-year-old vehicles. He warned that moving to 8-year-old models could make it harder for buyers to access financing, as banks may be unwilling to lend on older vehicles and insurers may refuse to offer fully comprehensive coverage. He also cautioned that the change could turn Trinidad and Tobago into a dumping ground for defective or deteriorated foreign vehicles. Babwa said TTADA previously held sincere discussions with MP Neil Gosine, and all parties agreed to maintain the 6-year limit, making the shift to 8 years surprising. He argued that older vehicles are more likely to have mechanical issues and may not be suitable for local road conditions. Babwa is calling on the trade minister to review and reverse the decision. He added that while government increased import quotas for licensed dealers, the move offers little relief, as access to foreign exchange remains the sector's biggest challenge. Former TT Civil Aviation Authority Director General Ramesh Luchmadeel says a new U.S. aviation advisory over Venezuela is a routine precaution, not a sign that military conflict is imminent. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration warned airlines of a worsening security situation and increased military activity around Venezuela, requiring carriers to give 72 hours notice before flying through the area, though flights were not banned. Luchmadeel said the FAA, backed by the world's strongest aviation intelligence system, often issues such notices in potentially hostile airspace. He stressed that the advisory simply allows the FAA to monitor routes and guide airlines on safety, adding that only if tensions escalate would no-fly zones be declared. The alert comes amid heightened U.S.-Venezuela tensions, including recent U.S. military deployments and anti-narcotics strikes in the region. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has supported the U.S. operations, but maintains TT will not be used to launch any attack on Venezuela. In the region, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, says he is unbothered by the Housing Development Corporation probe into the purchase of 3 Victoria Keys apartments by members of his family. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has raised concerns about the acquisitions, including how Gonsalves' daughter received a rent-to-own arrangement 2 days after the general election, whether any fraudulent declarations were made, and the source of funds for all 3 units. The investigation comes amid rising tensions between the 2 leaders, following Gonsalves' criticism of Persad-Bissessar's position on U.S. military operations in the region. Speaking to the Sunday Express, Gonsalves said he was surprised his dear sister Kamla had joined what he called a campaign to traduce him. He insisted neither he nor